Hi everybody, welcome to my next video. In today's video we will be talking about classification of elements. Classification of elements, it was discovered or started after 19th century. Before 19th century there were very less elements discovered, and when there is less elements then it is very easy for us to study about their physical and chemical properties. But after 19th century what happens, lot of elements, they were known, they were discovered, by which it became difficult for the scientists at that time, people at that time, philosophers at that time, to study the physical and chemical properties of the elements altogether. So that they started a new way of studying elements as classifying them. The systematic division of elements to study their physical and chemical properties is known as classification of elements, division of elements, systematic division of the elements. When John Dalton in 1802, he gave his atomic theory. Then after, scientists they started to classify elements. But soon after, in 1815, Prout gave its hypothesis about the relationship between elements with hydrogen atom. As hydrogen atom is related with every other element, according to Prout's hypothesis in 1815, he says that the atomic structure, atomic mass of any element is related with the atomic mass of hydrogen. This gave a new horizon for everyone to study the elements in a different manner. And they started classifying elements according to the way they know. But they were not able to find out a specific way until and unless Dmitry Mendeleev he classified the elements in 1869. Dmitry Mendeleevs, what we call Mendeleev's periodic table also. Okay. Mendeleev's periodic table, it was classified or made by Dmitry Mendeleev, a Russian chemist, and he divided 63 elements in 1869. He was the first person to classify the elements in tabular structure. The systematic division of elements in periods and groups according to their similarity in physical and chemical properties is known as periodic table. The division of elements into the tabular form or representation of elements in tabular form is known as periodic table into groups and periods. Dmitry Mendeleev he classified 63 elements in 1869. Because at that time, that much number of elements were discovered. Because it was a long time back. It's 2019 and it's 1869. Only few elements were discovered. At that time, he divided 63 elements into 7 periods and 8 groups. Periods. The vertical columns in the periodic table, they are called periods, and the horizontal rows, they are called groups. Periods, groups. It is easier for you to understand. Column is column. Column and groups. Horizontal rows, they are called groups, vertical column. So he divided the elements into 7 periods and 8 groups, 63 elements. And he classified the elements in a law which is known as Mendeleev's periodic law, because he must needs a principle, a law by which he can carry out classification. Mendeleev's periodic law states that the physical and chemical properties of the element is the periodic function of their atomic mass. Here there is a word periodic function. Let me remind you Mendeleev's periodic law. The physical and chemical properties of the elements is the periodic function of their atomic mass. Somewhere we find weight also. It is all okay. You can write weight also over there. Periodic function of their atomic mass. What does this periodic function means? Periodic function in periodic table means the repetition of the physical and chemical properties after certain interval of atomic mass. After certain interval, the physical and chemical properties gets repeated. That is certain interval of atomic mass. The physical and chemical properties of the elements, they are repeated again, and they are classified in those periods or those groups. This gives us a concept that the elements can be classified into groups and periods. Due to less number of elements discovered, Mendeleev gave a lot of gaps in his periodic table so that the newly discovered element can be filled in those gaps. He also gave the name Ika. He also gave the name Ika to the elements there, because at that time those elements, they were not known, or the name of the elements were not known, like Ika boron. Ika boron is that element. Ika boron, written by Mendeleev in his periodic table, is that element which has similar property like that of boron. Ika aluminium, Ika silicon, they were the elements given by Mendeleev, the name given by Mendeleev, because at that time their name was not known, because he was only the person to formulate the law, and there was no place for inert gas. There was no zero group. There were no zero group. It means at that time zero group elements or inert gases were not discovered. He was unable to classify inert gas because inert gas was not discovered at that time in 1869. Okay, now let's talk in summary about the properties of Mendeleev's periodic table. First, properties. He classified the elements in increasing atomic mass. He classified the elements in increasing atomic mass. 1. Second, he classified the elements into 7 periods and 8 groups. Third, he was the first person to classify elements in tabular form. Okay, first person, pioneer of classification of elements, but we are not writing that over here, just for your information. He kept gaps in the periodic table for the place for newly discovered elements, and he gave the name Ika, so that the elements which were not known at that time, the name which were not known at that time, could be given name in coming future. There are advantages or properties of Mendeleev's periodic table. Now let's talk about defects, demerits of Mendeleev's periodic table. Before going to the demerits of Mendeleev's periodic table, remember mass, atomic mass. Mendeleev classified the element according to their increasing atomic mass. The first defect of Mendeleev's periodic table is its law, Mendeleev periodic law. According to Mendeleev's periodic law, the elements having different atomic mass should be kept differently. But he didn't do that. For example, hydrogen has isotopes. Isotopes are those form of the elements having same atomic number, but different atomic mass. So hydrogen has protium, deuterium, tritium having different atomic mass. They should be kept different. The position of hydrogen is not sorted, and the position of isotope is not given in Mendel's periodic table. First, defect in law. You can write defect in law into two different points as position of hydrogen and position of isotopes according to your will. But defect in law, if you write this point, then you need to explain both the position of hydrogen and the position of isotopes. Second, the defect of Mendel's periodic table. According to Mendel's periodic law, the elements should be arranged in increasing atomic mass. But Mendelleeves has classified the elements having higher atomic mass earlier than the elements having lower atomic mass. Or the elements having higher atomic mass precedes the element having lower atomic mass. Look here. Argon has 39.9 atomic mass and potassium has 39.1 atomic mass. As the atomic mass of argon is more than atomic mass of potassium, the argon must come after potassium, but it came before potassium. That is the defect in the law, atomic mass. Similarly, cobalt and nickel also has the same way of wrong classification of elements. Second, the defect of Mendel's periodic law. Elements having lower atomic mass precedes the elements having higher atomic mass. Or you can write elements having higher atomic mass is kept earlier than elements having lower atomic mass. That is another defect of Mendel's periodic table. The law of Mendel's periodic table. We don't find any position of, there is no position of inert gas. There is no position of inert gas. We must have the position for inert gas in periodic table, but it is not given in Mendel's periodic table. That is another defect of Mendel's periodic table. The chemically dissimilar elements, they are grouped together. Chemically not similar elements, they are grouped together. The elements having different chemical properties, they are grouped together. Next, chemically dissimilar elements. Copper and silver, they are kept with alkali metals of group first A. The alkali metals, they do not have any chemical and physical properties similar to this copper and silver. So it is the defect of Mendel's periodic table. Here in defect in law, defect in the position of hydrogen. In position of hydrogen, what we can tell is hydrogen acts as electropositive and electronegative element both. The hydrogen, the chemical properties of hydrogen seems like it is electropositive and it is electronegative both, because it can gain the electron to gain a stable electronic configuration and lose the electron to gain a stable electronic configuration. So the position of hydrogen is also not certain in Mendel's periodic table. These are the things that you need to know during your studying classification of elements in Mendel's periodic table. So summing up the video, what I can tell is Mendel's periodic table has Mendel's law. That is, the physical and chemical properties of the elements is the periodic function of their atomic mass. There were 7 periods and 8 groups. Gaps were provided. The names, not known elements, were given name as Ika as their properties, and their defect as defect in law, position of isotopes, position of hydrogen not defined, the elements having higher atomic mass comes earlier than the elements having lower atomic mass. Position of inner gas not given. Grouping chemically dissimilar elements together. Due to these defects in Mendelev's periodic table, it was discarded very soon. And they started to think about different way of classifying elements. Stay connected with me, stay connected with Maxim Education. I will again come with a new video on the topic of monoperiodic table soon. Thank you very much.